This week, the National Education Collaboration Trust has been holding an event aimed at trying to work out how to better collaborate to enhance education reform in our country. As you know, our learners appear to be struggling both with maths and with reading. Dr. Godwin Khosa is the CEO of the Trust. Dr. Khosa, good evening to you, and thank you very much indeed for your time. We all saw the reading scores comparing us with other countries earlier in the year, and that led to a huge debate about whether we're actually doing the right thing by our children. Do you believe we're following the right policies, we're implementing the right policies in schools at the moment, or do we need to make a change?
Good evening to you, Stephen, and the viewers. The poor reading levels are all the reason we need to collaborate more. And a key message that came out of the 2 days convention in Benoni that involved over 300 people and 60 experts from the national borders and international, places. We have looked at reading amongst the many other challenges that are in the system. But one will need to understand that the reading abilities of young people, who are a proportion of the 13 million young people who are in the system, are a result of a number of systemic, dynamics. So we looked at those. What policies are there? Which policy instruments and tools we're going to use to push these sorts of outcomes, going forward? In education, there are a number of instruments and tools that you use to drive improvement, whether it's policy or resourcing or training, which is in the area of change management or accountability and so forth. So we've looked at all of those, and we also looked at which level of the education system should actually be targeted as the points to leverage, improvement. And districts, 75 districts that we have in the country, have actually been identified as the primary tier that must take reading forward. All the forms of support from the private sector, teacher unions, NGOs, and universities should actually be pitched at the level of the districts so that they take responsibility, primary responsibility, and therefore the accountability for improvement in those outcome areas.
For as long as I can remember, we've also been worried about our children's math scores. When I was at school, a long time ago now, people used to worry about that. That's still a major issue. Without maths, we're probably going to battle in the era of artificial intelligence and how the world is going to change. Are there ways we can make more progress there?
Oh yes. I mean, mathematics improvement and mathematics is equally important as reading. So we have, as the NECT, been working with the system to explore better ways of teaching mathematics. The simplest approach we've taken was to collaborate with the Japanese, JICA, who have very, very good math scores, at an international level. And we've been piloting a methodology called Teaching Mathematics with Understanding. So it's not just teaching kids mathematics for the sake of memorizing the steps and so on, but, getting to the bottom of how to teach kids to understand the four parts that make up, the four sides of geometry, practically showing them the shapes and not getting them to memorize and so on. And I must say the Japanese are quite advanced in this stage. Our team has been piloting the material in about 40 schools, and I think we're ready to now roll it out. Unfortunately, we now have to do all this work in the context of constrained, budgets. But innovative ways are being looked for in order to roll this out across the country.
And Dr. Khosa, your organization is all about collaboration. There are different groups of people who work in the education sector. You've got a government, you've got teachers, you've got district officials, you've got unions representing teachers. Are people working together? We have seen a little bit of conflict or contestation in that sector in the past.
Well, people are working together much better than they did 10 years ago and before. These different organizations, unfortunately, have different identities and different forms of, agency in society. We're not going to whitewash, these differences, but we have, over the past, 10 years, found ways of optimizing the complementarities, between these various players. The private sector has a particular, role to play in education improvement, and so are unions. And we've brought all of those, together in order to support the improvement of the performance of learners in the schools.
Dr. Godwin Khosa, thank you, CEO of the National Education Collaboration Trust. Really do appreciate the time tonight.